Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. What is going on in the Eddie Reynoso camp? I've said it before, Eddie Reynoso is a one-fighter trainer. It is what it is, man. When you're training a guy like Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez fought like 4 times last year. He fought several times this year. A couple times this year has trying to fight twice more. It's impossible for him to give attention to a guy like, any other boxer but Canelo. And then can you imagine in between those fights, the arduous, grueling training regimen and how time consuming it is to get behind boxing's biggest pay-per-view draw, which is Canelo. To try to find a sliver of time to give to the other boxers in your camp is impossible. So remember, as everything Canelo's going through, Reynoso's going through it too. He's not running no damn hills, though, I'll tell you that. He's not dieting, but he's on those long hours. He's on that hectic schedule. He's going through it with Canelo. And just like when Canelo goes into the fight, and Reynoso's in there with him too mentally. And when Canelo finishes a fight and he's tired and he needs a long vacation, Eddie Reynoso is tired and he needs a long vacation. As a result, if Canelo takes, let's say, 12 weeks to get ready for a fight, and then he spends another 4 to 6 weeks on vacation, that's 12, that's 16, 7, that's 18 weeks of Eddie Reynoso not being available to work with other fighters. Now, I'm not talking about coming in holding mitts and somebody hitting the bag because they're in the gym with Canelo at the time and Canelo just finished doing 6 or 8 rounds of training and now you turn and give somebody time for 1 or 2 rounds. That's not what they need. Okay? Canelo could get a hold, 4 or 5 hours of training from you and you turn to give somebody 30, 45 minutes or an hour. That's not the same. Especially, even though I think Ryan Garcia, hold on, man. Rub my eyes because I don't want to say this wrong. So I'm going to choose my words carefully. I think Ryan Garcia is still a bit immature and he feels a bit entitled. And I'm going to leave it as that. But you can't expect Eddie Reynoso to put anyone above Canelo. Now, when you're talking about Frank Sanchez, I've said this before in other videos and I'll say it now. I think Frank Sanchez, he's just an opportunity away from becoming a heavyweight champion. But he probably won't get it anytime soon because he has, they'll keep picking up these BS belts. But the real deal, Usyk and Joshua about to fight for, and the one that Fury has, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before anybody gets real opportunities. Unless the WBO or WBA or these other sanctioning bodies start making these mandatories, and then all of a sudden now they decide to strip whoever has the belts, whoever unified or the undisputed, they decide to strip a belt and have 2 guys fight for it. That's the only way that Frank Sanchez will be able to get to one is if the sanctioning bodies help to shake something loose because they just after their money and don't want their belt stagnated because they're all about money. But that being said, Frank Sanchez deserves the right attention to get ready for whatever fight he has coming up. Now, Frank Sanchez, he has a fight coming up, I think in July. And he is now being trained by Joe Goossen. And the thing about it, right, is Joe Goossen is training Ryan Garcia. And Ryan Garcia went over there. So they actually have a Cuban who over there who works with Joe Goossen, and he and Frank Sanchez have a good relationship. So as a result, Frank Sanchez went over there. He's comfortable. You got Ryan Garcia. You got the Cuban fighter. We know Joe has a lot of experience as far as training fighters and training champions. The thing is, Joe Goossen, I'm not aware of him taking a fighter from scratch in amateur ranks, building him all the way to a champion as a pro. If I'm wrong, enlighten me, apologize for my ignorance in advance, but I'm not aware of that. So it's hard for me to give some of these trainers a whole lot of credit. I'm not saying they can't make great fighters better, okay? But I like those trainers who take a guy from scratch and build him into a champion. Like, I give them a lot of respect. But Frank Sanchez, him going over there, yeah, he's going to like Joe Goossen. Joe Goossen is sharp. He'll tell you the right things. But I'm concerned with Frank Sanchez being with Joe Goossen because of how Ryan Garcia fought. Ryan Garcia fought a stupid fight against, what's his name, Macabao, the African guy he just fought. A foolish fight. High guard trying to walk somebody down with his chin in the air. He got caught a couple times. If that would have been somebody with some power, Ryan Garcia would have been out cold. So it tells me that Joe Goossen may almost be at a point in his career as a trainer where just lets fighters do what they want. Maybe a few tweaks here and there, but kind of feels like it's more of a turnkey operation. It's nothing really much for me to do except take the keys and I just start training. But not as far as, gutting out the guy's skill set and, and replacing some things. No, he's not doing it. He's not going to be a refurbished boxer. He's not going to be a renovated boxer that you're going to get with Joe Goossen. He's going to be what you see is kind of what you get, with maybe a few small little things tweaked here and there, but it's not going to be that noticeable, in my opinion. And so with Frank Sanchez going over there, I don't know. But the good thing is he and Eddie Reynoso and Canelo have a good relationship. And he's saying he doesn't rule out returning to Eddie Reynoso to train at some point. But right now, Eddie Reynoso's on a long vacation, of course. He doesn't have time for him. He's just too busy. And I almost feel like he was just spinning his wheels over there. But he looked good under Reynoso. He did. But it's just sad to see that when guys maybe Eddie Reynoso really wants to give him the time he deserves, but he's human. I mean, sometimes people bite off more than they can chew. And that seems to be the case here. It's like my son was playing in this basketball league and AAU ball, and you got this guy who's the coach over there, and he just bit off more than he can chew. And there's some kids who weren't really getting developed as much as the kids where the coach was really hands-on with. And to me, that's a foul on the coach, because he should recognize that, okay, this is too much for me to handle. And when I bring someone in on to help out, to pick up my slack, they're not as qualified. So as a result, there's a lot of parents who become disgruntled. And I think when you're looking at a situation like this, it doesn't matter who Reynoso has in the gym to help train Frank Sanchez. Person is just probably not as qualified as Reynoso. And Frank Sanchez is like, nah, if I can't get the attention that I deserve to continue with my development and my journey towards my dream of becoming a heavyweight champion, I need to go elsewhere with someone who's going to want to get behind me and push me there. And I don't have to worry about them taking, a 6-week vacation or being committed to another boxer for 16 weeks with no time for me. So he seems happy, and he seems to have still have a good relationship with Eddie Reynoso. But Frank Sanchez may be the one, people. If you don't know who Frank Sanchez is, just look at his highlights. It's called the Cuban Flash. He's a talented fighter. I'm telling you, one that I say better look out for. There's a couple of fighters who I talk about a lot, and I'm about to do another video on one of them. It's Amantis Stanionis at 147. Think he's going to be a problem. Then there's Frank Sanchez, who I'm high on. And I like Jalil Zhang, the Chinese heavyweight. Even though he's slow, there's something in that man's hands. If he touches you, you're out of there. But, when I look at these fighters, they look like they have what it takes to really get to that next level. But if you don't have the right person in your corner to help train you, it may not happen. It may not become a reality. So Frank Sanchez, I had to commend him on making a move to do what's in his best interest of his dream, especially for some of these boxers who come from other countries here to America trying to chase the American dream. And you don't want to come over here take a step backwards or allow yourself to be, kind of stagnated as a result of someone not being able to give you the attention. I mean, the things that some of these guys have put themselves through just to get over here to this country. And now look at the position he's in where he's becoming mandatories to a mandatory contender for some of these belts. You can't just sit there, man, allow your progress to be derailed because the guy who you really want to train you doesn't have time for you. Nah, man, you got to move up the ladder. We don't reverse, you know what I'm saying? You move up the ladder, not reverse. So he needs to keep moving up that ladder, man, to get closer to what his dream is of trying to get a championship. But still a whole lot more ladder for that man to ascend because the way these belts are all tied up and going to be tied up the next couple of years, he's just going to have to stay active and just keep clipping people. Matter of fact, I'm about to do a video about what I'm about to say. Frank Sanchez is about to become today's Dillian Whyte. Remember Dillian Whyte? Couldn't get a shot at the belt. He had to fight he had to clip some killers, didn't he? And with although he didn't look like he should have won those fights, there's something in that Dillian Whyte left hook that saved his ass. And he finally got the big shot, and of course it didn't work out in his favor, but look at what Dillian Whyte had to go through to finally get his shot. And that's what Frank Sanchez, a position I think he's going to be following Dillian Whyte's footsteps. Because those belts are going to be tied up for a while. He's going to be the mandatory for a while. And he's going to keep fighting mandatories and elite boxers, elite heavyweights. And by the time he gets to the belts, it may be 5 years down the road. And it's kind of like Dillian Whyte's situation. 2017 to 2022. Crazy. And he had to get in there with some killers, didn't he? And Frank Sanchez, I think he's going to be in the same situation. But glad he's with Joe Goossen. Not sure Joe Goossen is still at the top of his game, but he still likes to try to dress nice, doesn't he? But aside from that, I'm just not sure Joe Goossen has the energy at his advanced age to really work these guys to their potential and really set them up for a true chance at really, cleaning up their division. I'm not seeing it. And I'm basing that off of, not because of what he did in the past, okay? We dwell in the past, we miss out on all future opportunities. So let's forget about what he did in the past. He did great stuff in the past, but when we're talking about going forward into the future, looking at just like a Ryan Garcia, that's the only thing I can really go off of because that's who recently fought. And if anything, I saw that Ryan Garcia took a step backwards, and I didn't like that. But we'll see what happens with Frank Sanchez. He's hoping to have a fight in July. If so, then I'll speak more confidently about Joe Goossen being at the end of his rope as far as being a trainer. Because Frank Sanchez looks good when he gets in the ring, but if he comes out and he looks like he's taking a step backwards, then it's not the fighters, it's Joe Goossen, and he needs to just be honest with himself and stop training fighters. But that's all I got on Frank Sanchez. I'm going to do a video about him being the next Dillian Whyte because that's the position I think he's going to be put in. He's that good of a heavyweight to where he's going to be there, be a mandatory, and he's going to have to just wait to get his shot, especially if these sanctioning bodies decide to create common mandatories to make sure that the undisputed champion stays the undisputed champion and we don't have multiple champions in a weight division. If they do that, Frank Sanchez, could be waiting a long time, or he may have to wait 3-4 fights, depending on where he falls in the pecking order. So, more to come on that. We'll see. But anyway, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the veteran, Frank Sanchez, one of my favorite fighters out of all weight divisions, the Cuban Flash. Very interesting story. Amazing fighter. Not sure he's with the right coach, but time will tell. You guys keep safe, and as always, I'm in the breeze.